Time to look at the stories making headlines in Nigerian newspapers. And joining me is in-house analyst Obani Akinwale. Obani, it's nice to have you join me.
My pleasure. Good
Thank
morning.
you. And we also have from Enugu is PR consultant and public affairs analyst Ambrose Igboke. Ambrose, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, really good to see you. Okay, let's start from Daily Trust newspaper now. Daily Trust says confusion as presidency silent on Magu's probe replacement. Suspense at EFCC, Nigerians in the dark, the CSOs are saying this, and why government needs to speak. That's lawyers are saying government needs to say something right now. Okay, let's go to Blueprint newspaper. The Blueprint says on schools resumption, federal government reverses self, dashes hope of WIAC candidates. It says the exam body can't dictate to us, and the losing academic year better than exposure to COVID-19. As the minister is saying this, and keeping children home could lead to social disorder, as NLC is saying there, and seeks homegrown solution. Education Summit. Decision in order, head teacher. So there are just comments here and there from different people or what you call stakeholders. Okay, from there let's go to News Direct. NNPC reports explosion, 7 fatalities on oil platform, and the security remains priority. Someone is saying this, and Ogun government begins palliative works on flood-prone areas. And no WIAC exam for Nigerian students, federal government is saying this. Okay, all those you see on the front page of the News Direct. Leadership newspaper is next now, and it says Nigerians divided over existence of COVID-19 and misinformation responsible for doubt. The experts are saying this, and doubting Thomases are in the minority. PTF is saying this, and underrating virus dangerous, say health workers, and so many other headlines in there. Okay, from the leadership, let's go to national economy. National economy says Nigeria targets top spot as preferred investment destination post-COVID-19. And federal government okays 107 billion naira for roads. Okay, it's quite interesting. All right, from there, let's go to Daily Times, which is the last one we're looking at now. PDP insists on Magu's probe. PDP insists on Magu's probe. Okay, this is where we certainly will take you from. The first newspaper we were reviewing earlier, Daily Trust, says confusion as president is silent on Magu's probe replacement. This is where we started from. Ambrose, I'm going to start with you on this. I know you've been following the developments around this suspension or the arrest or the invitation of the EFCC chairman for probe and questions in the presidency and all of. What do you make of all of this development? The point there is, right from the first EFCC chairman, Nuhu Ribadu, no EFCC chairman has gone out of office in a peaceful way. It seems there is no standard as to how EFCC chairman will be replaced. Talk to us.
Well, as I always say, our Nigerian constitution is revolving around the powers of the chief executive right now, who is the president of Nigeria. Nigerian constitution is almost monarchical, or will I say absolute powers given to the president, because a lot of appointments, a lot of things that are directly under the presidency revolves around the personality of the person who holds the office of the president. So, as you said, there's no structure per se. It is at the whims and caprices of the person who is in power. Let us cast our mind back in some years back, precisely 2015, when this gentleman, Mr. Magu, was presented to the Senate as the choice of Mr. President for the position of the EFCC chairman. The Senate then, the 8th Senate, did say that because of a damning report by another agency under the presidency, which is the DSS, Director of State Security, has said that there are damning information, reports, and facts that this Mr. Magu is not fit to head the EFCC. But what did our president do? He didn't buy that idea. He represented the man a second time. The Senate rejected him a second time. And what did we hear? We said it was politics, that the corruption is fighting back. All kinds of propaganda was thrown at people. Now we are seeing the reality. Now we are seeing the truth about the character of this gentleman. And the truth is very, very obnoxious from what we have seen. So from the report they have given, from what we are hearing from the panel, we should remember Justice Ayo Salami and the way he left the Court of Appeal. He was a no-nonsense man. The person headed the probe. He's a very no-nonsense judge that we are, ex-judge that we know. And so we believe that this time around, it is not corruption fighting back, but the truth about the man, which the 8th Senate said, and which the DSS report has said, has come home to be true. So we are not. I'm not surprised particularly. There have been newspaper reports. There are different reports about the malfeasance going on in EFCC. Okay. So for now, for it to come to true is just that the presidencies are waking up from to reality, and it's not acting the same.
All right. Let me put you on hold and come to Nii in the studio. Now, Nii, we know that certainly it's only a court of law that can declare Magu either innocent or guilty, as the case may be. But the point there is, if we cast our mind, like Ambrose was saying, that his name was presented to the Senate and was rejected based on reports from the DSS. And the presidency at that time saw nothing wrong. Is this a confirmation of the DSS report at that time? And should the president be apologizing to Nigerians for not heeding the DSS report at that time?
Yeah, good morning once again. Let me first start by saying that the presidency or the president reserves the right on who to appoint or not to appoint as written in the Constitution. Let me also state that according to the presidency, nobody is above scrutiny. But I want to disagree with my brother from Enugu that says the DSS report is this, is that. One thing that I've seen so far in this government is that it is called a government of use and dump. The fight Magu is fighting is not about Mr. Magu. You recollect vividly that when Mr. Magu was dropped as was director of operation during Lamode's tenure, and traditionally most director of operations has consistently been used as the head of the commission or acting head. Now, when the name was presented then by Professor Yemi Osinbajo, it was rejected by then Chief of Staff that the Mr. President has not accepted that Mr. Magu should be presented. Now, when the report came, then it was Mr. Lawal Daura, who was the director of DSS, that wrote a report. Until today, presidency has not shown us the report. You recollect after that, this same presidency set up a Obla presidential whatever committee, and this same man was asked to chase after government money in banks, and the same government was rubbished. You remember vividly also that the president of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice has repeatedly said, as the chief prosecutor officer of the government, he requested some file from the office of Mr. Magu, and Mr. Magu has refused. And they also observed that some files cannot be found. And Mr. Magu has consistently says that, yes, we're under presidency, we have our own prosecutors that can prosecute cases on behalf of EFCC, except we want to deceive ourselves. Mr. Adantata's name was just forwarded to the Senate for confirmation as the head of NCC a few days ago. Mr. Magu is due to be either reappointed or to be sent off from that office. And we've known for over years that the bickering between Mr. Magu and Mr. Malami is unprecedented. So if we are coming now to say, oh, it's because of DSS, what DSS report? Oh, they said the man declared monies that are not recovered. They said the man is selling house to other people. Where are those evidences? Do we continue to try Mr. Magu on front page of newspapers? Is this the way, is it not the same way Madam Fariza Waziri was treated when she was looking for money? Is it not the same way when Andoaka came to government and the former EFCC chairman, Malam Nuru Badu, was ridiculed out of government and sent to Kuru? It is not about Magu, it's about our system. If somebody is doing what is right, in the history of EFCC, as time to be corrected, outside Malam Nuru Badu, we have never had this number of high-profile people being jailed, not only being jailed, and this high number of recoveries. So outside all these, Magu this, Magu this.
But considering the recoveries,
yes,
if there are allegations,
yes,
because from the ones we're reading on the front page of the paper,
if there are allegations,
does it justify?
If there are allegations,
yeah.
So you have Presidential Advisory Committee on PCACOL or something on corruption. then you now have to go and form another committee headed by Justice Ayo Salami. See, except we want to fool ourselves, we know what Justice Ayo Salami stands for, and this government needs a way to legitimize how to remove Magu from office. We and I knows that prior to this time, there are information out there that shows that Magu will be kicked out. You and I know that there is a very close alliance between the office of the vice president and the office of the acting chairman of the EFCC. Even, I stand to be corrected, the office of the vice president is more interested in entrenching this war. And when President Buhari got to the government, they said they have brought the best. Who is Magu? Magu can look uninspiring, but his level of intelligence, see, some people are orators, they can speak very well. Some people can write very well. Magu is not the kind of person that comes to the TV and bamboozle you with Queen's English and what have you. But the kind of job he's doing, the kind of engagement he's doing. Remember the last time they've gone to raid his house, they said some files were missing, they detained him. What are those files? Why is government not coming out? Those files are missing. Okay. See, let me put this there. How many times have Mr. Malami defied court order? As the presidency set up any committee, former NSA was put in jail. Every court order, did he obey? Was there any committee put in place to probe Malami? Don't let us put it about the man has come to rose to where? What about the chief law officer of the countries that have violated several laws? Was there any committee formed to probe him?
All right, Ambrose. Ambrose, let me bring you in here. The point there is just in less than a minute. In all of this, the president is the one who owns the yam and the knife, like we say in the African parlance. He is the one, the final authority. They are all employees under his authority. What the president's body language, what does it tell you from all what is going on?
Well, what we find out is that, as my colleague has said, it is not, we are not here to launder the criteria of Magu. We are not here to say whether he did well or didn't do well. Yeah. He might have prosecuted a lot of high-ranking cases. The subject under review here is what did he do with the proceeds? How did he go about, prosecuting these people? The recovered loot, what did he do with it? Did he turn it to the federal government or did he keep some for himself? These are the questions we are talking about here. So if the panel have already is sitting and they have their cases, so let my colleague wait till the result is out until we see the evidence. So there's no need to launder Magu here. We are not his PRO. We are not his PRO here. So what we are now saying is that let the panel meet. For them to already appoint an acting chairman shows that there's a lot. For him to be having agreed for 4 days, so let us wait. The presidency is quiet because they're waiting for the outcome of the thing, which I suppose is the right thing to do. And then by next week, when we sit back again, we will know what they have come out with. As I saying that is the system to send people away. If you don't have, Nuhu Ribadu was sent away in controversy, but not corruption controversy. So if we have corruption controversy, we have to wait to have evidences to show whether there are corruption or whether it be prosecuted. There is another thing to have corruption cases and to sweep it under the carpet, and there's another thing to go ahead with the prosecution. So as the case may be, it seems that Magu has a lot of cases to answer.
All right. Well, let's leave the panel to come up with the findings, and then they might tell Nigerians at the end of the day, or if they require prosecution, they know what to do from there. Thank you very much, Ambrose Igboke, for your time on the program. We appreciate you. And Obani Akinwale, the point there is, as we are rounding off now, what scenarios do you see playing?
They've removed Magu, that's just it. It's obvious. They've suspended him. They've put in an acting chairman there. The same thing was done to Farida Waziri. Same thing was done to Lamode. Whoever is coming in should just know that that office is, if you don't play balls, once you are about to do your tenure or before the end of your tenure, you are kicked out of office. I'm not laundering Magu's image. I am not here to launder, but what I'm saying is that the system has to purge himself of too much power. See, it will continue to play out whoever the Attorney General of the Federation is. And again, this cannot be left out of what is going to happen in 2023. Just write it that I said today.
Okay. You see, this is more political than anything else.
All right.
Good morning.
All right. Let's head straight to the papers now. And I begin with the Daily Trust. Confusion as presidency silent on Magu's probe replacement. Suspense at EFCC, Nigerians in the dark CSOs. Why government needs to speak, lawyers. And then we'll move to the front page of the blueprint. Schools resumption. Federal government reverses itself. Dashes hope of why candidate says exam bodies can't dictate to us. Losing academic year better than exposure to COVID-19. We'll be looking at that story shortly. And then we'll move to the front page of the News Direct now. NNPC reports explosions, 7 fatalities on oil platform. Security remains priority. Sanwo-Olu. To the leadership newspaper now. Nigerians divided over existence of COVID-19. Misinformation responsible for doubt. Experts doubting thermoses are in the minority. PTF. Underrating virus dangerous, says health workers. And now we move to the front page of the national economy. Nigeria targets top sports as preferred investment destination post-COVID-19. FGOK's 107 billion naira for roads. And then we move now finally to the front page of the Daily Times. PDP insists on Magu's probe. Gentlemen, let's look at this story on the front page of the Blueprint. And I will start with you, Ambrose. The federal government reversed itself, dashing the hope of WAEC. All right, let's quickly take the story first of all. Now, the debate on whether worship centers in some states and schools should reopen is one that has pitched many Nigerians against one another. This is in light of the rising COVID-19 cases in the country. And gentlemen, I'd like for you to participate in this debate, starting with you, Ambrose Igboke. We see, according to the dailies this morning, that the federal government reversed itself with regards to the reopening of schools. Initially, it had said that schools will reopen in August the 14th specifically. But now it has reversed that. And we see that some other countries have even said that, you see, schools will not reopen until 2021. I wonder what you make of the decision taken by the government yesterday. Ambrose.
Well, first of all, in my earlier interventions even on TVC here, I have reiterated when that announcement was made that it was not was not a priority to open the schools. And I wondered why the PTF went ahead to announce the reopening of schools. That for me was not a step in the right direction. And I said so emphatically. Now that it has reversed himself, I think it is a good development because the students, the children, who will take care of them, who will ensure a good supervision over the health protocol. Even the adults we are finding it difficult to ensure the protocols of COVID-19. Then we are now talking of children. So having said that, I think the PTF did not consult widely in the past, especially as concerns the school reopening. They are supposed to have carried everybody along, the NUT. I recall that immediately that announcement was made, the NUT came out to say that they were not ready to reopen schools. There was no wide consultation, and I wonder why the PTF will make such announcements without consulting the stakeholders, the NUT, the WAEC itself, the NECO, even the School Proprietors Association, and some other stakeholders. This is not right. Therefore, going forward, all consultations should be made in regarding the school. In 1994, I remember, the JAMB at UME was written, I think, in December of that year because of some issues with ASU strike and some exigencies. And I think 1 year was lost in the school academic calendar in the tertiary institutions in that year. So if we can, just as the education minister said yesterday, if we lose 1 year...
Ambrose, are you there? All right, let's bring it back to the studio now. We see parents reacting to this decision or this move, reversal by the federal government. A lot of them are saying that the impact it is going to have, especially the alteration on the calendar, especially those who will be writing WAEC. Are you on the same side with Ambrose on this matter?
Let's place the issues side by side. First, you agree with me that the education sector has been totally commercialized in Nigeria. And as such, you find out the number of private schools outnumbers the number of government schools. So traditionally, what you have done is that you have shut down such source of livelihood of some people, either as teachers, as proprietors, as security of those schools, as health attendant. That is one. Two, the government has a right to open or to close based on the fact that the right of every government is the first responsibility of every government is security and life and properties of its citizen. But let's take this issue side by side again and ask ourselves, how many functional primary health care do we have in Nigeria? How many cases of COVID were being able to take care in the urban center? What is the attention given to the medical officers in the urban centers, in the state centers where COVID cases are being treated? What facilities are traditionally provided in either public or government schools to ensure that there is social distancing or perhaps disinfectant or what have you? So you agree with me that we have failed in this responsibility in providing these facilities for schools, either as private or government. Everybody's looking after tax, pension, and what have you. Now, in places of worship, I don't understand reasons why Nigerians will be holier than Pope or holier than the Sheikh in Mecca. Either Christianity or Islamic religions was what was brought into our culture. As Africans, we have our cultures. Now, a head of a faith in Nigeria, a person of Pastor A. Adeboye, has said, for him, his family, his age, and his grandchildren, they would rather stay indoor until this pandemic is over. And the world is not just experiencing the pandemic. Now, for federal government to force approbate to say we should come in, when the health workers has even told us that there is not enough PPE, no hazard allowance for those taking care of the isolated cases of COVID that have been traced. Now, how much more in churches where you do I-5, in school where kids are going to be playing on the sound, hugging each other, and they are going to go home? If we don't have facility to take care of the current statistics and people are saying, stay at home, we'll treat you at home.
But like the airports, the churches, these places of worship, or even schools are going to put measures in place before people can come in to ensure that the social distancing and all of that are put in place.
So if you look at even a school nearby us in Ikosiketu here, look at the classes they have there. How do they ensure social distancing? Do they have a running water there? Is the teachers even well paid, talk less of having hand sanitizers? Is this obtainable in every other 774 local governments in Nigeria? Do they have facilities in all local governments to isolate possible case of COVID in those areas? If happens in churches, what is the readiness of our health facility to take it? Are we not currently overwhelmed with the little thing we have opened? Since the government has reopened back, we've had the case in spiral numbers, 500, 600. Even Osun State, as a few days ago, said they are locking down 4 local government. So it's to tell you that if activity has not fully, these are younger ones. See, before you can say you are going to WAEC, possibly you are 18, 21, but these days you find them in 14, you find them in 13. How do you ensure that these ones will not have it? The teachers that are paid 33,000, 40,000 to feed their family, are you going to make provision for hazard allowance to ensure that if perhaps they contact the virus while doing their responsibility, they are being taken care of, or their family? So these are things we should, yes, people need to work. Yes, I have small ones at home that you find difficult that we read your book, what they want to do, they want to watch cartoon, they want to watch ball, they are tired, they are bored, they are restless. Yes, that is a fact. But is this what life of any Nigerians? Unfortunately for us as a country, we don't seem to have statistics. So, for example, in 2018, WHO said there are about 3.8 million people that died of malaria in Africa. Now, in a situation where we don't even have enough statistics to show number of people that are dying daily, how do you account for these lives? So, I feel we need to exercise patience. And like you mentioned, it's not the first time. ASU has severally gone on 6-month strike, that the university calendar has been turned around. There are schools that have collapsed in saying that this year we are not recruiting. But I think it is important for us to place premium on life, at least for once.
All right. Let's take it back now to Ambrose Igboke, and I'd like for you to comment on the issue of churches also wanting to reopen. Before then, we see that, as it is said, education is on the concurrent list, and some states, even before now, had said they were going to reopen schools, and I think a particular state reopened schools. Yes, Oyo State specifically, thank you. And now some states are saying that they might go ahead to reopen the schools. What do you make of this? And also we see that well, religious leaders are pushing for the reopening of churches at this time.
For me, it will be easier to manage the churches than to manage the schools. Because, for example, if you come to, but I think at this stage, both should remain closed until maybe in the next 2 weeks we can now look at the level of community transmission, because the stage we are now is community transmission. First of all, people need to be educated. There should be advocacy awareness for people to actually know what to do. That's the stage we are. So the spike we are seeing in transmission of the COVID-19 disease is natural, because right now the borders have been opened, the lockdown have been eased, so there's a lot of mingling, so it's supposed to get high. But I'm thinking that before the churches and the schools will be reopened fully, that there should be a partnership between the churches and the other stakeholders and the government to, first of all, increase testing centers. Will a church be a testing center, for example? The big churches, can they establish testing centers? Can they bring the swab testing kits to churches to check people that have COVID-19? And for example, the churches are not going to open fully. It's still going to be staggered and gradually. But all are said and done, whatever we do, at the end of the day, people need to go on with their life. The COVID-19 virus is here to stay. It's not going to go away. So the earlier we begin to manage, the earlier we begin to see how to manage this disease, the better for all of us. Because people become agitated very soon. And people, like in America, they're already saying that it's not compulsory to wear masks. It's not compulsory to test us. We have ownership of our body. All kinds of rhetorics are coming up. So it is at this stage now, we need to start. We don't need to get to the stage the Americans are. We need to now, before we get there, before the agitation starts, let us begin to look at. Then I'm surprised that the PTF is still threatening us with lockdown. I mean, this is not things that should be said by now. Lockdown, why are you threatening with lockdown again? No, we should be more advocates. What do we know about it? How do people go about it? What are the remedies in place to manage the symptoms? Coronavirus is not new. It's only the COVID-19 that is new. So what other things were used in the past to treat coronaviruses, like the MERS, the SARS, and the others? And what are all these local remedies that are available? Let's look inward so that people can begin to manage the sickness, just the way we are managing other viral diseases that we have.
Okay, let's bring it back to the studio now. I'm still talking education. If we are saying we are not reopening schools, there are concerns about children with special needs, and talks have been put in place, or people have been talking about ensuring inclusivity. You see that most of these children cannot even participate in virtual education. Where do we leave them at this point? How do we educate them at this point? Because their parents are feeling helpless.
That's one of the things that amazed me about a country like ours. When we copy policies and procedures from other countries, we don't copy their frameworks and the structure. Americans are already saying that schools that are going to start doing virtual learning, they are going to start revoking visas. Now, COVID has shown us clearly that as a system, we have failed. It shows that the penetration of information across the country is less than 40–50%. And the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, which handles sometimes the case of disability, have shown clearly that it's just the creation of government and it's not functional. And it is high time government at various levels, if we said at birth we have child registration and what have you, vaccination to check record of child. I think this COVID has clearly shown to us that we have a system that is gradually collapsing, and if care is not taken, like in my village they said, if you chase a dog to the wall, the dog will run back at you. The government needs to be very careful in such a way that they don't chase people to the wall, or otherwise they will face the government back. For people with disability, even not people without disability that are in the villages, that are in the hinterlands, they are unable to access education, access information. And we just take major cities as a generalization of what is happening in Nigeria. There was a report done by Sharon Jackson a couple of years ago about a state just close by. There is one during inside Lagos that the Lagos State government trying to look at collapsed secondary school and what have you. These are cases that is there. And it is time for government to now start building on our infrastructures to be able to cater for. Pandemic will not leave us. It's a reality. We're going to have another one very soon. It is standard. But what is important is that are we prepared to face this pandemic, and is government up to responsibility to ensure that provisions are made for people with disability, even people without disability, are they being catered for? Virtually all government workers, either health workers, teachers, and what have you, are complaining. You could even imagine the stringent measures of tax collection and what have you. So government seems not to be doing anything for us as a citizen. For people with disability, it's so unfortunate that we find ourselves in the kind of system we have. In the countries where government cannot make provision, cannot even identify, And that is why it is good for us now to start building our database and statistics to know who is where and what is where, so that you can make necessary provision for Nigerians, and Nigerians can be better off it.
All right, your final word on this, Ambrose Igboke, especially with regards to ensuring inclusivity at this point.
Well, first of all, there have to be an affirmative agenda for people with disability and special needs. That has been going on. For example, the ministries and departments of gender affairs have sprung up in many states, and gradually they are becoming there. Many buildings, current modern buildings, should have the ramp system where you can roll maybe the crutches or the wheelchairs too. So we need to become more affirmative. But in a country where a majority of the people are not even taken care of, as my colleague has said, people for special needs is a very deplorable state for them, because they are left on their own. Even the buses, the public transport is not designed to their favor. The public buildings is not designed to are not designed to favor them, and a lot of other things. Even the government buildings that you think should have hospitals and the rest. So they should put it in. I think it's already in the code. They should put it in the building code and ensure that anybody who is building a house should have a place, for the people with special needs. As well as braille machines and other things can also be now put in, and for them to be inclusive. But on the general note, I think schools should remain closed for now until we are sure in the direction we are going.
Ambrose Igboke, thank you so much for your time. Obani Akinwale, thank you for your time as well.